aren't we grateful that that account's been preserved for us here?
Yes.
And you know, as we look at these chapters, I think it'd be helpful. Let's just pick out the solution they come up with. Then, of course, is that all right? Helaman's told us don't break this oath. It's important you keep it. And so they've got these young sons who were young enough or weren't born, either one, that haven't made that oath, and they're willing to go. And I think this isn't just the sacrifice on the part of the sons, but you think of the parent who's going to let that child, and these young men don't go, well, if I have to. And so maybe we look at what are some of the characteristics we see about these young men that made them such great. And obviously, we're going to see, as Kelly said, it's due in large measure to their mothers who have taught them. And we don't often get this window into the homes of the people. We do in a sense here because they're going to tell us it's because of their mothers.
Clyde, let me just interject. Even as you go to their qualities, Helaman and Mormon, kind of in concert, seem to interject a real important point here about why they shouldn't go back on their word. In chapter 53, verse 14 and 15, Helaman counsels them, don't do that. And then he says, and Helaman feared lest by so doing they should lose their souls. You know, this is about integrity.
Yeah.
And our culture is really soft on integrity in difficult places. We call it situational honesty. And this is a great place in the Book of Mormon where it amplifies something that's throughout the Book of Mormon, and that is both Lamanites and Nephites, when they give their word, they stand by it. They don't waffle. And he says he feared lest they should lose their souls. Okay, let's go on. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, appreciate it. It's a good point to clarify and bring up.
They're called, these young men called stripling. Some people may not know the use of that.
Yeah.
It's not often used, only in this context. Stripling is an English word meaning adolescent. They're young men.
Yeah, lads.
Between boys and full-blown men.
So now they're, go ahead, good point. And so they're at the point that I guess we look at over here in, it's really clear over to chapter 56, 56, where they're put in a rather precarious position. They've had to kind of use some strategy to try to trick the Lamanites out of a city they've captured, and in the process, hoping then to draw those Lamanites after these young men, who look like they're supply train, and then will come in behind another portion of the Nephite army led by Antipas in order to try to recapture the city. But either one of those two forces is going to be at great risk if the Lamanites catch them, because they'll be outnumbered, and particularly these young men. And so that's the issue where Helaman's going to say, shall we go against the battle? And of course, that's when they rehearse. Look, we didn't come here to just watch things. We've come to fight, and it's because our mothers have taught us. And there in chapter 56, verse 47 and 48, they just bear testimony. It's what their mothers have taught them and the faith that they have, and we don't doubt, and we know that we're, in essence, on the Lord's
they've got
errand.
a promise they're working off of, too. It's sort of like a patriarchal blessing. Yeah. They know that they're going to be saved. They're going to be protected, just like little David, when he went down to take on big Goliath. He knew he had the power of God with him, no matter how big the big bully was.
Now, in the promise, Kelly, you're referring kind of to the Spirit conveying to them that the Lord will protect them. Is there anything that...
They will be protected as they obey. There are a couple of words that I really like in this account. Having worked now in a couple of different missionary training centers, I've heard two words often used with missionaries, and that is exact and strict. Both of those words, like in 57:21, they did obey and observe to perform every word of command with exactness. And then over in 58:40, they are strict to remember the Lord their God from day to day. Now, I don't know if those two words are real popular with youth generally in the world these days. Real strict and exact, but that's what the Lord requires of us. Those two words are in the Book of Mormon. Those two words we hear in the Holy Temple, too. The Lord expects exact obedience. There's hardly a word in our language more tragic than the word almost.
Yeah.
Almost obedient. If you almost obey, the Lord almost blesses you.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then there's no question this is part of the key with these young men, because the blessings they receive is not just because of their parents, it's because of their, as you said, their exactness in their obedience.
They're not almost clean.
Yeah.
They're clean. They're not almost honest.
And it describes them, bear over use that same verse, chapter 58, verse 40, that they had great faith in the prophecies, which they believed in the prophecies. They were continually keeping the commandments. They trusted in God continually. These are the kind of phrases that are being used to describe these young men, and it's no wonder.
Yeah, that concept of trust in God you see over and over again. Helaman is kind of left on his own with these young warriors that really don't have a lot of experience. And yet, over and over again, they could reply, that we trust in God, and they were obedient, and therefore they had His help. And they fought, as it says, with the strength of the Lord, far beyond what their mortal capabilities, I'm sure, were.
Yeah, good point.
Kelly, you brought up another interesting point just about your missionary service. The stripling warriors have also been used as the image for a new generation of missionaries in the church. Elder Ballard, when he gave his talk, Raising the Bar, he made specific reference. In fact, I think I have the quote here. He said, "What we need now is the greatest generation of missionaries in the history of the church. We need worthy, qualified, spiritually energized missionaries who, like Helaman's 2,000 stripling, are exceedingly valiant for courage and also for strength and activity." So he, in addition to this model of people that keep their word and have great faith, Elder Ballard just attached also the whole missionary preparation program to the type of people that the stripling were.
They're solid. They're firm and steadfast. Two of my favorite words in the Book of Mormon. If you're going to go into battle, you want somebody that's going to be right with you. And
it's wonderful when you think of these letters that give us this kind of information. As we look at some maybe other lessons that we can draw from these chapters on warfare to apply to our personal spiritual warfare, I think still in chapter 58, you look at verse 10 and 11, where the people we're told we're praying, they're pouring their souls out in prayer, that the Lord would strengthen and deliver them from their enemies. And then the results that they get in verse 11 and 12 are just, to me, profound. And it's the same kind of results that we will get and that we need, which is the Lord visited them with assurances, that He spoke peace to their souls, that He granted them great faith and hope for their deliverance, and thus they were fixed with a determination, even though they were much smaller than the opposition they faced. In the sense, we feel that today.
I really like that passage, and what I found interesting is that it follows after Helaman talking about how they're not getting the physical support that they would like from the government and so forth. They're not getting reinforcements. And so what's their recourse? To pray to God and to seek help from Him. And those are the blessings that they're promised, these reassurances that, okay, they're not completely taken out of the situation yet, but He's there and He's going to help them through it.
We're not, most of us are not involved in physical battle, but we are doing battle for the souls of men. And the passage said our hope in deliverance, delivered from the evils of this world, is in Him. We sing victory through Him that redeemed us.
That was our victory in premortality over the adversary, and it is again here the same victory that we'll use. And ultimately, that's what these Nephites who are faithful are fighting for too. It isn't they're fighting for their faith and their families and their testimonies of Christ that they want to maintain. And that really ultimately is what's on the line here, isn't it? And so in that sense, it's the same for us, even if we're not out wielding swords or shooting guns per se. We're definitely having to fight the opposition, aren't we?
Clyde, I'd like for us to develop too this point about their mothers teaching them, and the emphasis that Mormon seems to give us on the fact nowhere else in Scripture do you have mothers kind of being pulled out and showed what demonstrated, highlighted here, and what's behind Mormons' sort of emphasis on their mothers? Because they had fathers, or at least we assume they did, unless they're off in war. But this is the one place. This is our primo Mother's Day scripture, really. And so what does it say about that?